Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. -1-2 Derby Day. It is here once again, around about the same time as it seems to be every season now. I don't know if it's somehow fixed, but the Derby di Milano always seems to be around about this time of the season, at the beginning of the season, and we like it. We like it now. In the past, it used to be a nerve-wracking thing, having the derby so early, but now that we won it six times in a row, and tomorrow at 7:45 p.m. UK time, we have the potential to make it 7 times in a row. 7 times in a row. That would be absolutely outrageous. And if I was a Milanista, I would just not come out of hiding. But anyway, before we get into it, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't checked it out, check out my vlog video from Man City versus Inter at the Etihad. Me and Perisnitch from Twitter. He didn't do his face reveal, but we did travel together to the match with some issues with the ticketing, which in the end was sorted out. And we also got the refund, by the way. Some people asked me about StubHub. Actually, StubHub were actually really good with it, with getting the refund, getting it sorted out. It was probably the seller on StubHub. But anyway, all sorted. Great experience. Got to watch that masterclass by Inzaghi and masterclass by players as well. A lot of the players deservedly got a lot of criticism for the Monza performance. And Inzaghi got, I don't think that was deserved, the criticism on Inzaghi. Maybe some substitutions, yeah. But I don't know why people blamed him for rotating when, again, I actually was surprised that we didn't play the full starting 11 against Man City. We rotated against Man City as well. Zielinski getting his first start, Taremi starting, Bisek starting, Carlos Augusto starting. Well, Carlos Augusto was kind of forced, but still, that team that won against Monza was good enough to beat Monza. The team was against Man City was almost good enough. It almost did beat Man City. So you gonna need to start expecting and respecting the rotation that Inzaghi's gonna need to do this season. And speaking of Inzaghi, he had his press conference ahead of the derby tomorrow. Of course, nothing crazy, no crazy quotes to speak about, but solid press conference by Inzaghi. As always, he keeps more and more as time goes on impressing me with his calmness and the way he imposes himself with press conferences. And he said, past derbies count for nothing. They asked him about, potentially the 7 derbies in a row, 6 that we've already won. What do you think about that? He was, nah, I'm going to ignore that. And he knows, how important that is for us. I hope that the Inter players don't start downplaying it now just because it's 6 derby. No, we need the 7th. We need that 7th in a row, because for us, robbing it in the face of Milanisti is priceless. So do not underplay it, Interisti. I'm talking about the players, of course. We'll need a special Inter performance, particularly after the match against we had at Man City, where we spent a lot of energy. Yeah, this is something to keep an eye on for, because, we, of course, played a day after Milan. Milan played on Tuesday against Liverpool, got smacked around. But so they have this extra day, and it was at home. We had to travel to Manchester. So that's something to keep in mind, energy-wise. And you can see still into one thing that we can see, even against Man City, like we got tired towards the end. Of course, it was a tiring performance, the way we also defended and attacked. But this Inter team still seemed like it's feeling the after effects of this preseason that I think, we talked about at the beginning. The extra maybe intenseness of this preseason that Inzaghi and the coaching staff put on them. I still feel like we maybe start to see the Inter players at full fitness and reactive and fully, pumped from, I think, in the next couple of weeks, when we start seeing them really getting into full fitness, peak form. But yeah, he said Manchester like derby, found the energy that you didn't even know you had. He ignored about the comments about the 7 derbies in a row potential. They have top players and a great coach who already played against Lazio when we were at Lazio and Roma. We have to be ready. Blah blah blah. The players who played against Manchester trained less yesterday, obviously. And then they asked him about Lautaro Martinez's form. Obviously, we know we are starting to get a little bit concerned as Interisti, but he downplayed that as well. He played a year without stopping and came back earlier than expected. he came back to be ready. He's putting in a lot of effort. If he's physically fine, and he'll definitely start. And I like that, against Man City, he didn't feel compelled to start him just because, we saw even against Monza, he's not at his best yet. So, at the moment, Taremi is in very good fitness. He hasn't scored, but, he's playing well. If he's doing everything else well, Taremi just hasn't scored yet. So that's the thing with Inzaghi. When we saw it in the past, even when we had Lukaku, Correa, or Dzeko in the past, he was always, when he had all four strikers fit, he was always happy to rotate between them. And yeah, that's what we're seeing. They asked him about, Thomas Palacios, our recent signing, who we haven't seen yet, and I don't think we'll see for a little while yet, unless, he gives him some charity minutes in the upcoming games. He says he's doing well. He doesn't speak English or Italian yet, only Spanish. So Correa, there he is. He's earning his salary. Correa and Lautaro are helping a lot with the translations. Young player with great prospect. He's watching his teammates and learning. He has a great technique and reads the game. Clearly, he's trying to fit into our back three defense and the principles of play we use, but you can see he wants to learn. And yeah, they said, they asked him which position do you see him in, and he said, in the wide, one of the wide centre backs, obviously the left centre back that we talked about. But he has the reading of the game to play in the middle of the back three as well, which was something I talked about in my scout report. And then he talked about Dumfries, who I want to start definitely tomorrow. Theo versus Dumfries, the matchup, the battle that I like the most in the derbies recently. That Dumfries now is finally starting to get the better of. He's doing well. He's come on and done well in the last few matches. He's won the selection outside for tomorrow between him and Darmian, who had a great match in Manchester. I don't know about that last bit, Simone. But as always, he's never going to throw anyone under the bus. Before we continue on Inter, I want to cover quickly Milan. Actually, Fonseca, of course, also had his pre-match press conference too. And he spoke about some potential lineup decisions and style of play, and this has given me even more confidence going into this game, if even we needed any more. I mean, Sky Sport Italia are saying that this is Milan's potential lineup against Inter tomorrow, 4-4-2, which gives me some, already it means that they're a bit scared, or Fonseca's a bit scared of this Inter. But at the same time, Fonseca said, we are going to play our style of play. I am the type of coach that does not sit back. I want my team to be controlling the game, try to dominate the game, be aggressive, press. And that all sounds delicious to me. That all sounds like Pioli to me. We talked about it when Milan signed Fonseca. I said, I like Fonseca, but this seems like just a, Portuguese Pioli essentially, and that's what it's been until now. Defensively, I watched Liverpool, Milan. Apart from the first 4 minutes when Pulisic scored, it was 85 minutes of pure Liverpool domination. Milan looked awful at the back. Even in the Venezia game that they won 4-0, there were moments where Venezia got behind them, and any other decent team could have scored or made more of those opportunities. They just look very susceptible at the back. So I can see why maybe Fonseca might try to go to, a basic 4-4-2 here. But to me, this potentially could be even more open than Milan's 4-2-3-1, because if you're going to push up, you're gonna have to expect a lot of work here coming from Leao, Pulisic to be, because if you play 4-4-2, you need the two banks of four to be always, especially when you're defending, to be in position back. Otherwise, you're going to be quite exposed. And Morata and Abraham, one of those two is also going to have to cover back and track a lot, which I'm expecting it probably to be Morata, who's done that similar work at Juventus. And maybe he'll try to kind of shield or man mark Hakan Çalhanoğlu off the ball. We've seen Milan try that in the past, and it hasn't really worked. And then at the back, Calabria is missing, which means Emerson Royal comes in. And I mean, Davide Calabria is a bad right back and a bad captain. But the fact that Emerson Royal starts actually I don't know if it's a bad or a good news. It's crazy. Like, Milan has spent 16 million euros on this guy as a Calabria upgrade or replacement. and he actually might be worse than Calabria in some ways. So either way, we should be trying to exploit that Emerson Royal side for sure. And of course, Milan, surely they must have some sort of pride. They've lost 6 derbies in a row. They've started the season awfully. Surely, like, I don't want to, and derbies in general shouldn't look too much into form, but you know, in this case, surely there should be some sort of bounce back and some fight for Fonseca, fight for your pride, fight for the badge, fight for the club, something, man, something. I'm just, my like indications, all my logic is telling me that Inter should be walking all over Milan and smashing them 3-4-0. But also, I'm thinking surely we'll see something, a fight from Milan tomorrow. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I am really struggling to see that happening, to be honest, though. I can see the fight happening, but I don't see how this Milan team can keep us away. Although Inzaghi was also asked about this, the fact that Inter have only scored 1 goal in the last 2 games. And our chance finishing has been a lot worse at the beginning of the season compared to last year. I've talked about it, that last year in the league we conceded 22 goals, but if you remember in my season review, player rating review, I said that actually Lautaro Martinez scoring so many goals, openers, crucial goals, is actually the reason why we defended so well. Against Monza, Lautaro in the 15th, 20th minute had a pretty much free header. It was kind of, you know, far, kind of almost on the edge of the box, but still, he didn't even get the header on target. I feel like that header last season probably would have buried that Inter start, first 15, 20 minutes, 1-0 up. Game is completely different. And that's what Lautaro was doing last season. So that's, I think, the difference at the moment. We're not burying these chances. And in the recent derbies, the first, 5-10 minutes, we've been out of the gate, putting our stamp on the game. That's been the real difference between Inter and Milan the last few derbies, the way we started the derbies. So I want us to do that tomorrow for sure, to stamp our authority. Predicted lineups quickly. First, Gazzetta. I think both Gazzetta and Sky Sport Italia actually have the exact same predicted lineups for Inter. Yes, Denzel Dumfries starting instead of Darmian, who deserves some rest as well now. Back to the midfield trio with Zielinski out, but definitely want Zielinski to be the first sub in. And then Di Marco, big news is that Di Marco is back from his little fatigue issue that he had after the Monza game, which is great. Di Marco has been having very good derbies recently. Pavard returned with Acerbi, Bastoni, best defense, and up front Lautaro enter around the best duo. So this, in theory, is, for me, our best starting 11, and we're going to see it tomorrow. And that's what Gazzetta also says, exact same lineup. On the other side, I think Sky Sport and for Milan's lineup, well, Sky Sport on here now are saying it's more of a 4-2-3-1 with what's his face, Abraham out for Loftus-Cheek. This seems a little bit more safe to me than that 4-4-2 I saw earlier. But I would definitely prefer Milan trying to play this, to be honest. And I hope Fonseca lives up to his statement that Milan are not going to sit back and try to attack Inter, because that will leave some juicy spaces open, because I think Lautaro will open his account for the year. And I think Taremi will come on as a substitute and also get a goal. And I'm predicting a 2-0 or a 2-1 victory. I don't think it's going to be a washout. As I said, I think I'm expecting some sort of fight back, surely, from Milan, the Milan players, where they might even score. They might even go ahead. But in the end, I expect us to make easy work of this Milan team and potentially end up in the firing of Fonseca due to this convincing win that we're going to have tomorrow. Come on, guys. Let's get this 7 in a row and bury this Milan team. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. What's your prediction? Who would you start? Do you agree with Inzaghi's lineup? And what do you make of this Milan team? Can they do anything tomorrow? Let me know. Ciao ragazzi. See you tomorrow for post-match reaction. Forza Inter.